Hey everybody, how we doing? It's a bit loud, sorry. Right, my name is Mackenzie. Thanks for coming tonight. This is the second in a series of talks we're going to be doing here at the cafe, hosted by Bike Tracks. I see a couple familiar faces from last time, and I'm not going to take up too much more time. Just I want to introduce Isabella. She's Scotland's most enthusiastic commuter, and she was the third finisher in last year's Trans Alba race. So give it up. Here she is.
Yes, so hi, my name is Isabella. Welcome and thank you for coming to the Top Up Cafe. So tonight we're going to hear from three amazing cyclists, Adna, Ruby, and Naomi, who is... There you go, that is Naomi. We got and we have all given up a perfectly good Friday night to come here and listen to cycling stories and hang out with other cyclists. So I think it's safe to say that everyone is quite into cycling. Is it right? Yep. Okay, fair enough. So in the first part, we'll speak to Adna and Ruby, who have created their own women-led cycling community here in Edinburgh, the Queens of Pain. Hands up, all the Queens of Pain. Wow, perfect. And after a brief intermission, we'll speak with Naomi, who has spent the last several years racing 24-hour mountain bike events. Right. So we normally don't start padding our cycling portfolios with 24-hour events. Is it right? Oh, has it? No? No. So even Mark Beaumont and Jenny Graham didn't start off with cycling around the world. So when we think about their achievements, probably we think like, oh, there is no way I could ever do that. And probably they thought the same at some point. However, if we see someone going on a little adventure that is maybe just a little bit harder than what you are comfortable with, and maybe if this person is someone you can identify with, you may think like, you know what, maybe I could do that as well. I mean, that's what I did. So, however, when it comes to motivation, an idea is not enough. Sometimes you need to kick up the ass, and that's where the Queens of Pain come in. And maybe that's where the pain in their names comes from. Is it? So then, step by step, pedal stroke by pedal stroke, you will go further and longer. And those full-day events, multi-day rides, and even cycling around the world may actually be within your grasp. I think there is someone who's here in the audience who circumnavigated the globe, right? Is it right? Was it? Right. But you may also think, it's like, but I'm not fast enough. It's like, well, I'll tell you a good thing. Endurance sports are not just about speed. They combine so many other elements. So you've got, time management, sleep deprivation, nutritional follies, bike maintenance, body maintenance, actually, which is very, very important, and on-the-fly problem solving. So you don't necessarily just have to go fast. You just have to go smart. And to get us back on the theme for the evening, I'll tell you that lots of women are actually pretty good at all of those things and combining all of them. Right, so may I now introduce you to our first guests, Adna and Ruby. Yeah. So I'm just going to say a few things that I learned about them because I didn't really know them before that. Adna Dumitrescu is a slow but stubborn, that's her own description, a long-distance endurance rider who completed All Points North in 2021 and 2022. Ruby Boyce is a vertically challenged, again, Adna's own description, bikepacker who completed the Pennine Rally in 2022. When not on a bike, Adna works for public health, while Ruby is a graphic designer. 3 years ago, they formed Queens of Pain, an Edinburgh-based cycling community led by women, for women, non-binary, and trans riders. Queens of Pain are on a mission to increase diversity within cycling. They set up rides as a gateway for people to grow and go off on their own adventures, increasing representation in the outdoors industry. So let's now hear from Adna and Ruby about the first 3 years of the Queens of Pain and how it helped them in their individual journeys.
welcome to our talk, guys. Nice to see so many friends here.
Very busy.
Yeah. you know us, we love talking about Queens of Pain, so we'll take any opportunity that we can get.
Yeah.
So we're not going to spend too long on like an formal presentation, but we really took this opportunity because it was a good chance for us to look back across the last 3 years and basically highlight a couple of our achievements, a couple of our fun times, and just talk about the community that we've sort of grown in the last 3 years or so. So we want to start at the very beginning.
With the first conversation.
With the first conversation. A lot of people ask us, how do we start Queens of Pain? And this is, actually I was cringing because I asked Ruby to go back in her Instagram messages to check our very first conversation about Queens of Pain. And luckily for me, I didn't say anything that terrible. You can read it over there. It was literally me texting Ruby.
We didn't know each other, which is also like quite an interesting point because I think people think, oh, you start these things with your friends, but it was a couple of weeks into Queen's Pain starting that we actually had a conversation together.
It's basically, I was cold calling Ruby on Instagram.
She slid into my DMs.
In a non-creepy way. The only acceptable way.
Yeah. Yes.
So you can see there was the 28th of March when I basically texted her and I said, I used to ride with a couple of women when I lived back in Paris. I'd love to do this again in Edinburgh. Do you want to sort of do this? I have a prop. It's the book. I'm not normally advertising Rafa, but they just published this book. It's a great book. You can borrow it. You don't have to buy necessarily. I read this book and I was quite inspired because it's a series of stories of very kick-ass, true sort of legends and rebels of cycling. Basically, they were like normal women. They had normal lives. They had jobs. They had husbands, and they had kids, and they had a lot of domestic duties. But once they took care of the kids and the wife and the household, they still found time to go and train and do this rides. They would take part in rides they were not invited to. So I was like, they've come so long. And I was like, I'm like sitting on my couch, like I was like very motivated. I had to ride my bike because I signed up to All Points North, and I was like, I have to get out. I have to ride more. And it would be cool to do it with other people. And that's why I thought it would be cool to start a community. Yeah. So I got lucky. I found you.
I was going to say, when are you going to get me credit? And then I have subsequently read the book also. But it's some of the stuff puts us to shame, but it's very inspiring. So hopefully people get a little bit of that from our version of Queens of Pain.
Yeah. You can see we moved pretty fast. We're freaking efficient.
It was like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I went about 2 weeks from that conversation to us actually riding our first Queens of Pain ride.
So before we go to that first Queens of Pain ride, we have to address this. Oh no, it is here actually. Sorry, I forgot the slide order. So that was us actually second.
That's our second ride.
That was second ride. We don't have. It was so fun on the first ride. We didn't take any photos. Let's say that.
And it was dark.
It was dark.
Yeah, it was dark. The difference a week makes.
Yeah. We moved fast. It was really fun. I think the first ride we had 7 spots.
Yes.
And we got 7 full spots. Second ride we opened up to 10 people.
It grew instantly.
And we got 10 people over there, and we had a cool, jolly ride. So before we show you more of our adventures, we want to address this, which Isa mentioned as well. The name is questionable. Okay, let's be honest here.
We spent the last 3 years explaining why we called it Queens of Pain. Yeah. Even though we tell people about the book all the time, there is no pain, for the most part, involved. If there's pain, it's probably not us that make it happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's like a quite cool way to show it. Like, you want to tell people about the ride in the photo here, because I think it's a really good story.
Yes, that's quite a recent ride actually. So it was like,
if you'd feel pain on one ride, it would be this one. But
it was very icy, and like people were messaging just to check if it was all right. And I did the ride twice in a row because I had an emergency recce just before the ride went out to check. But it's still like to have that many people turning up when it's like weather warnings and like scary, like slippy rides and ice.
Yeah, what
I think says a lot. People would rather come out and like get frostbite in their fingers and hang out with Queens of Pain than stay at home on a Wednesday night, which is nice.
Yeah, people were like saying, "Oh my God, my water bottle froze," and they were like excited about that. So I think that tells you there's literally no pain except your water bottle. Yeah, and you're in trouble.
Yeah. Don't get thirsty.
Yeah. Cool. So what we're going to do now, we basically just highlighted some activities across our 3 years, and we're just going to take you year by year. We're not going to be here the whole night. Don't worry. We're not going to talk about every single one of those rides. Yeah. So we started on the 7th of April, 2021. And it was me and Ruby doing, we took turns sort of leading rides for the whole first year. And we knew from the very beginning that we have to get some outside help, because if it was just me and her, you know, it would have been very tricky to keep it going for as long as possible. So actually quite early on, you can see here, for like a couple of months, we had our first ride led by a community member, which was awesome, because it meant, like, okay, we're not crazy here. Yeah. There is scope for growth. People like it. People want to keep going. You can also see, if you're very keen-eyed, there's an empty bar there. That's what happened there. And we're very, very proud of this. It's like the first and only cancelled.
In almost 3 years, it's the only ride that we've cancelled, and I really prefer that we don't talk about it.
I think it's an achievement.
I think it's an achievement. Yeah.
To be fair, so I actually went back, because we have a record of all the rides. I went back to check, was the weather really that bad that day?
Was it justified? Because we've rented some really bad weather.
Exactly, yeah. But apparently that day was like this called like Storm Dudley, great name. And basically Waverley Station closed at 4 p.m. The fourth bridge was closed. Amber alert, danger to life. Those were the words. So like, okay, fair. Like, let's be responsible.
We were still really on the fence about it. So it was like probably about an hour before the ride was due to set off that we were like, nah, we should cancel it.
I think it was Allison. They were like, guys, you better.
Like reining us in.
I think I was like, have you seen the wind speed?
Yeah, but I think it's a great achievement. So, right about when we were turning 2, this was, I guess it's like a big moment, like only us remember it. Because it was very emotional for us. Yeah. It was the very first ride where none of us was there. Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, I hope they're going to be okay. What's going to happen?
Be free.
And they were great, they were fine.
Nobody missed us.
Nobody missed us. And we were away because we were planning this. Our first big birthday party. Can you put your hand up if you've been there? Okay, a couple of people remember it. So for all of you that haven't, for most of you that haven't been there, that's a shame, but don't worry, we'll organize more.
Come to the next one.
We've organized an alley cat. Do you want to tell people what an alley cat is?
Yes, so the alley cat, it's sort of ingrained in like the courier scene. So it's, the idea of it is sort of like orienteering, but it's to replicate the sort of day in the life of a courier. So you get tasks or locations, and you have to go around to those checkpoints and either do the tasks or collect something or get something signed. And you do maybe in an alley cat, depends how long it is and who's organising it. I suppose you go like 8 or 12 different checkpoints, collect all the things, get to the end. It is usually a race, but we put our own twist on ours because it's very important to us that people are not intimidated or put off or felt made to do things that they wouldn't want to do normally. So we made it very clear that we wanted everyone to not run red lights, not do anything silly, behave like they were Queen of Pain and representing us, and just enjoy it and get used to the alley cats and maybe open them up to doing something like that out with Queens of Pain as well. And we did rope in some of the couriers, the local Edinburgh couriers, to help us put it together and sort of give us some tips on that, and they were really supportive. And the turnout was unbelievable.
You can see it here. Yeah, we got probably 60 people or so.
In excess of 60 people.
Yeah.
And it was...
you printed like 50 manifests,
yeah,
and we ran out.
People had to share manifests. We had people writing in groups to share manifests.
Yeah, it was a really great event. I was like sad I couldn't take part in it because I organized it. So I organized this alley cat without ever doing an alley cat because I was scared of them.
Yeah, which is also why we wanted to do it.
Exactly, yeah. Because we wanted to make it friendly to beginners, friendly to people that have never made an alley cat, done an alley cat before. And I think when we looked at sort of the numbers roughly, I think it was a successful event because we had about 50-50 split between people that have done Halicat before versus not. I think it was one of probably the most, I guess like most, like the one with like most representation from like women, non-binary, trans writers as well. It was quite diverse. So yeah, it was a really, really cool day. We have a record here somewhere in the city, in a wall. If you find it, you get a prize. Cool. So now we're moving on into our second year. You can see it's getting more serious. You have more writers on average there. There's one that stands out for me. It's this one here. You want to tell?
Where's my writing buddies here somewhere?
Yeah.
This is another weather warning. I think we only got to yellow weather warnings though on this day. But yeah, I was ride leading and the numbers were dropping. Everyone was signing out, and of course you have to go just in case someone turns up and they've not signed in. And it ended up just Eve and I riding around Edinburgh in gale force wind and torrential rain, having the absolute time of our lives. We're having the best ride, apart from the fact that Adna had created the route, so I hadn't ridden before, and it was chaotic. It was like, yeah. But
There's a reason behind it.
But it was definitely fun, and I think even I ended it with smiles on our face, so it was worth it. That's how determined we were not to have another gap in the timeline. So that's our smallest group ride.
Smallest group. And it's still a group ride.
Yeah.
The biggest event probably in our second year is this, where we've hit number 100. It's like a magic little number.
100 weeks of riding.
Yeah. We had our own small gathering, which I think had the best. You can see like actually you can't see. It's probably the image is too small, but it's about 2K of cycling.
Yeah, it's our shortest show.
It's probably the shortest route ever.
But Adna had spent quite a lot of time
Oh,
creating like a really nice route that on Strava would have spelled out QOP. And circles are quite difficult to do, so she had to do this quite a few times to get it right. And then we all turned up and everyone's like, can we just go straight to pizza, please?
I was like,
So we
no!
didn't do it.
What about my Strava art?
I still don't. We've still never done it.
I don't
We'll do it.
No one could really, to be fair. I showed it to a bunch of people. But it was the best definitely kilometers to pizza ratio. So I
Yes.
think that's
Yeah.
something to celebrate.
Yeah.
But that was the big event. We had a street party.
Yeah.
We had a really actually, do you recognize where this happened? Exactly, it's just behind you. It was actually bike tracks were great. They were like our partner here. They allowed us to have big gathering spot. We had a dream team. You can see like all our ride leaders there. We had 5 different routes going across the city. There were like 5 different sort of Queens of Pain rides running at the same time. The idea was to cover. We wanted to celebrate like 100 in a way, like either have like 100 kilometers or 100 people. We couldn't do like 100 kilometers in one go because it would be too complicated. Or 100 people in one go.
Couldn't guarantee 100 people.
Yeah, exactly.
We
So
got close though.
We got close.
We got
yeah.
very close.
It was really fun event, and I think after this ride, actually, we started getting many more people to our rides.
Yes, we did. We had like quite a big influx of
Yeah.
new people, which is nice. So I think as well, like sometimes a Wednesday doesn't suit everybody, or people think when it's already an established group that maybe stops it feeling approachable to some people. So this was like a bit more of a taster ride for people that hadn't been along before, and it seemed to work really well.
Yeah. Also, it was open to everyone, regardless
So
of
open
gender.
to everyone. Which
Yeah.
a lot of our bigger events we tend to just open to everyone.
Exactly. The other thing that we celebrate in our second year, and this is well done, you and me,
Yeah.
Stiffs. We got some official recognition for the which was really cool. Pretty sure a lot of people from the audience are friends and nominated for us, so thank you again. much appreciated. No, it feels good. It feels good to
Yeah,
be told
it's
you're doing a
nice.
good thing. So.
And it's nice to know because we are pretty proud of the community in Queens of Pain, so to have it like grow like that over that space of time and it be celebrated in other ways is really nice.
Yeah. Moving on to our third year. You can see, I think it's definitely bigger and better. We can see like we have an average of like 17 riders now every ride. One of the rides that we want to highlight here, it's actually the ride where we've had the highest number of riders. It's the Ride with Pride. Happened like it's basically like the Queens of Pain sort of Pride ride that happened in June last year. And again, we had like another sort of dream team organizers. And then they basically split. They had two different groups of people
because there was so many people turned
exactly.
up.
There was like such a great
We had to
interest in
split
it.
it up, yeah.
And they've organized a cool route where they basically had different stops across the city where they told us a little bit of sort of like the gay queer history of Edinburgh. So it was super fun, super educational, very colorful.
They
very
did
colorful.
a brilliant job. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I hope they do it again.
Yeah.
Someday. Yeah. But what we've noticed actually across our last year is basically, so we have a deal where we cap our Wednesday rides to only 20 people. And we didn't think we'll get here, but actually people are, you know, they're rushing to get a spot. So
Eve calls them the golden ticket.
We're getting to a point where, you know, we're sort of selling out the rides every week. And we could expand necessarily, but we don't really want to because basically 20 is a good number to ride safely and in a fun way through the city.
Yeah, we've experimented a little bit with numbers, and it's like a nice balance of, because as soon as there's more people, there's more things to consider, so it slows it down, and then it's getting that balance of it still being a ride with some movement and some things happening, and still have enough people without it being too overwhelming.
Yeah. So don't be too sad because what we've done, we started to expand. So, and actually, I think there's like Kimberly and Mark, they're here. I'm not going to point out to him, but Mark is sitting over there. He came up with the name of Queens of Pain au Chocolat. And you know, once you have a name, you got to make an event. That's how it works a lot of the time. Yeah. So actually, Kimberly started this. These are, they're irregular, but actually happen very often enough. They're like sort of coffee shop rides.
And a success from the start as well.
Yes.
In demand. So these are weekend ones as well. So it's actually a little bit of a different crowd, I think, because not everyone can make a Wednesday after work. So yeah, it's nice to have something at the weekend.
Yes. And they are very tasty pain au chocolat.
Yeah, we're making our way around all the coffee shops.
The other thing that we started is this, Mixed Mondays, which Helen and Kimberly again, her name comes up a lot, man, started it. So this is a standalone ride every Monday. First Monday of every month, we're organizing a ride that's open to any gender, every gender. And this came out because guys wanted to have some fun as well. You want to say more?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like, we'd either heard from people's partners that they wanted something like Queens of Pain because they'd maybe tried road clubs and things like that and hadn't got on with it. There was also, we did a ride for Women's 100 this year, and we had two guys tag along at the back for the start of it, and both of them were like, oh, we're too scared to ride with other guys, like we'd love a thing like this. And I was like, okay, we need to do this. And at the very least show that it's possible and that there's also a demand that guys don't all want to be in these like fast, like competitive, like bravado type groups, that there's also like this other group of people that just want to be on their bike and do a short ride and have some pals. So we have opened up the opportunity for that once a month.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a really great way to tour the city. We live in an amazing place.
We have a lot of people come along who are not from Edinburgh or Scotland, and I think that's why. Like, it's just a really great way to have someone show you around and then find your bearings. So
make pals.
Yeah.
You have bigger adventures, which brings me on to this. Obviously, Ruby and I sort of started it, but we wouldn't have been here today unless we made loads of friends along the way. We got a lot of support. So, you know, me and Ruby were like ride leaders for the first year or so, but then we got a lot of different people to step in and take part. And a lot of them are in the audience. So thank you so much, because obviously we wouldn't be here today. We couldn't grow the way in which we've grown. So you obviously, like, there are just sort of 6 people mentioned here, but we have many more. These are like the guys that sort of they're regulars, steadfast, they show up most months, they lead a ride, they do extra events, they sort of help build us our community here. And we couldn't have done it without them. Yeah, it's fun, but it's also tiring.
Yeah, it's a lot. We have other things in our lives.
Yeah, so just to finish off, I guess it's just the end. It's a sort of a recap of our activities. Some stats. I love the stats.
The highlight of doing this talk is that Adna went a bit crazy with the stats, so it's really fun to find out all of this stuff and reflect.
I always
We got
wanted-
really sentimental about it.
I always wanted to know how many did we do? How many people did we came to our rides? Who did the most rides? Which I can reveal at the end of this talk. So we had, actually these are correct as of the beginning of February. The numbers are even bigger now. So we had 148 sort of Wednesday rides. We now know, well, now you know as well, we had about 215 sort of unique riders join our rides across the time. And I'm really proud of this statistic.
It's a good one.
The majority of them, 67% of the people did more than one ride. So, they came and then they chose to come again and again and again. In total, we've sort of had people had fun. And we say, really, it's accurate. I can show you the
How many
data.
times do people not have fun?
0 times.
It's good stats.
We think we've covered more than 2,000 kilometers so far, which is quite cool. And obviously, we put a lot of emphasis on sort of our Wednesday rides because they're iconic Queens of Pain rides, and we didn't want to be here forever. So we didn't talk about.
There's a lot more to it.
There's a lot more.
Rides.
Exactly. So I think in total we did about 170 rides. So we've had the bikepacking rides, actually Naomi helped us with. Thank you so much. Helen helped us with. We've had loads of people join together and do wild campouts. I'm a sissy, I don't do that, but Judith, Naomi, they love to sleep in the trees, under the trees. And they're wonderful. I mean, I did a couple of them, and they were definitely the most fun I've had camping by far. We have a lot of food-based rides. So we've had chippy rides, we have sconosaur rides. There's what's it called? I forgot. The one that's coming up to IKEA.
Oh, the leap year meatball meetup.
We're gonna have a leap year We're gonna have a leap year meatball meetup at IKEA next week.
It's basically because I told Anna she couldn't call it a chippy ride.
And I wanted to eat meatballs. So. We've done some events in collaboration with Rafa as part of their Women 100 rides. Ruby's basically, organizing those. And then we're sort of branching out. We've had people that were, I'm not personally into sort of women's cycling, but people are into women's cycling, and I think it's great for those events to happen because people like me can then learn more about women's sort of racing and get into it. So we've had Watch the Fans, which again, Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Oh my God, it's a woman.
She's always there.
Yeah, she's
doing stuff.
So I guess you probably are curious what we're planning to do next. We are as well. We're becoming a bit more, I guess, I'll say audacious in our attempts, in our sort of events. Where I guess we're a bit more official or formal in a way.
Yeah.
So we have a website now, which is all of Ruby's doing.
And Lindsay's photography.
Please go check it out, queenspain.cc. We advertise all of our events there. A lot of work has gone into it, and so grateful for you for doing that. It's amazing. And yeah, this is very tongue-in-cheek. We're not what do I mean by going pro? Simply put, we want to create even more opportunities for our community to have fun and have different type of events. And I was trying to be it's not like that. We want to be more like organizing. And by that, we have quite specific projects in mind. We've talked for a while, and I think by making it public now, it's actually also held it's going to hold us more accountable to make it happen. We want to start a sort of kit library so that people can borrow equipment and go on cool bike packing. You have some cool bikes here that you can go check out. This is expensive, and we know it's not basically accessible or affordable. This community has been great because I've been able to borrow a lot of stuff.
we definitely have borrowed from other people in the community, and that happens internally quite a lot. So it's invaluable, because a lot of these things as well, especially like we kind of had a boost of it around the intro to bike packing, because a lot of people are bike packing curious, but it's a massive expense really to go and do these things. So if we can help with like facilitating that in a more affordable way and breaking down some more barriers to being able to explore things, then that would be amazing, just to get more people doing bike stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, we're also planning more adventures. We're having our first ever Queens of Pain go on a trip. I don't know, what do you call that? Trip away. We're having like a weekend adventure.
A mini adventure.
A mini adventure, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to Arran is what she's trying to say.
Yeah, and we're basically, again, I think it's basically like also the community sort of taking it, and people are just organizing events by themselves, which is basically what we wanted to like provide this space for people to meet each other and have cool bike adventures together. We'll leave it here because I think people might have questions. We're happy to answer.
That's good.
Yeah.
I've not seen that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job, Isa.
That's not me, sorry.
A surprise.
Actually, so that's Queen of Spain. Can you go to the next one? Right. That's Queens of Spain.
AI.
Right. My first question would be: were you surprised how popular the Queens of Pain became?
I think in hindsight, no, but at the time, yes. So, from my perspective, I was absolutely prepared to show up on the first day and just meet Adna and go for a cycle and then go home and have my dinner. And I think we were probably both a little bit surprised that it was full, and then we had to grow the next week, and then it grew so quickly. And yeah, thinking about it, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't there be a demand? We're not the only two people in the world that want to do something like this. But yeah, I think at the time, yes. I think because we were new to each other, so that was already like, oh, this will be cool, we'll meet each other. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, I suppose.
Yeah.
So there is, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think it was surprising, but not really, because we're not the only women-run cycling community. I guess maybe not most, maybe that's like an oversimplification, but there's a lot of big cities across the UK that have different communities. Like there's one in Bristol, in London, in like the New Forest, in like the Lake District, etc. So I think they've like sort of popped up in the last like 3-4 years, just naturally, because it's just a good idea. But there's definitely demand for it.
Yeah, so the Queens of Pain are a little bit different than like other cycling groups in Edinburgh, right? Because there are several other like also women's cycling groups, but you kind of found kind of a niche of maybe combining bike packing and just going for pastries and
We're like the taster cycling community.
Yeah.
Before you decide what kind of cycling you really want to do.
I think we have a very, very low entry barrier, and I think that's key. Like if you go on our website now, because we have one, you should check it out. I think we basically say, just come and bring literally any bike. You can wear whatever you want. Like, just bring whatever you have and come ride with us. And I tend to tell people, like, in the beginning, I guess, I would sort of warn people, like, this is not a ride to build fitness. Yeah. It's just a ride to socialize with other people and just have a chat as you, like, glide through the city and take some space, This is basically what we're aiming for. And I think basically people come meet each other, and then, some people are just interested in coming for the chat, some people then do more serious stuff. There's space for, like, everyone there. And yeah, there are like I was gonna say that at the end, I forgot. There are other sort of I guess women-led communities, sort of cyclops. So you have like Hervelo, you have like the School of Rocks, you have the Infra Sisters, which are like present on your chairs. If Sisters are like a group of sort of women riders that advocate for improved cycling infrastructure in the city. But I think this community part of our description is really important and the key. We're not a club because we don't expect all the people to like look the same, do the same activity. It's just a space where people can come, and meet each other and take it from there.
So you started off with your descriptions as that's just for women, but now I think you kind of branched out slightly more, apart from the mixed Mondays, right? But now you kind of specified that it's for non-binary and trans people. So you're trying to create a safe space for basically not men.
Yeah. I think we want that. It wasn't something we actively went in doing, but I think that's also a bit of a difference between it being a community, not a club, is that it's grown in its own way as well, that it's that side of it is developed in its own, and it's really nice to know that those like groups or those communities feel safe coming within our community as well. And we didn't go into this, we're not part of the LGBTQ, but we want that, like, to create that environment, and like for Pride Ride, obviously hand it over to that community, encourage it and create a space for them. And I mean, I think basically there is something, I don't know, it's gonna, how should I say this? I'm gonna say it, but there is something safe about like being in a space where people that are just like you, Yeah. I mean, I guess I've experienced it through Queens of Pain, but like to another level. I went for like last year, the first time, to a Sisters in the Wild event. And that was like, we had like 300, women non-binary, trans riders there. And it was an amazing space to be in that weekend, for like people that like look like me, think like me. I don't know, the norms were different, expectations were different. And I think there's something sacred about that. And I think this is why we'll keep sort of Wednesday Ride as it is, because a lot of our riders told us they really appreciate that space. There is a need for that space at this point in time. Maybe it will not be a need for it like in the future, hopefully, but there is a need for it now. And there's also there's already other alternative spaces exist. Mm-hmm. So it's like you can go on mixed rides or like male heavy rides in most areas quite easily. But it's quite important for us to keep that space to ourselves. Yeah. Only invite our pals along.
Yeah.
And I said at the beginning that you will also say how the Queens of Pain helped you in your individual journeys. How did that help you?
I've got friends now.
Yeah. It's a really inspiring community. I got like a little bit of like imposter syndrome, being here. Obviously, we're talking about Queens of Pain, but there are like so many awesome women cyclists that I've met, through Queens of Pain, and so you get like mad inspired about other people. So you grow in your own adventures. You feel more capable. There's also like the real life perks in terms of like borrowing kit. Yeah. You get tips from other people. You get
the hive mind as well.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of like cool events and cool other things going on that you wouldn't have the time in the day to find out all this information. So to have the community where you're gonna be like, does anyone know about this? Or what's this event happening? Or like sharing all of that stuff, which is really helpful. Like I went, like when I did the Dirty Reaver for the first time, that was definitely encouraged by some of the people in the Queen's Pain. Like I'd heard of it and I wasn't sure about it, and I was like, okay, someone's going, I'm going to go. And there's a lot of that. It's like, okay, well, if I've got a friend with me, we're all very codependent with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm scared to ride off-road, and I only got a mountain bike because most of those guys had like gravel bikes, and I was like left behind. I was like, okay, fine, I'll come. Yeah, no, they've made my life.
Yeah.
Like,
I always say we've got a lot more out of it than I think anyone else did.
Yeah.
And how do you see yourself in 3 years?
Just in general?
The Queens of Pain in 3 years.
I'd like to see us in other cities. Which might not take 3 years. Now that I've said it out loud.
Yeah, we haven't put it out, but like one of our riders there, Izzy, she's actually now in Glasgow. So she's maybe thinking of starting something similar.
Potentially be a Glasgow Queens of Pain.
Yeah. We are serious about the biohacking library, so it would be really, really cool
Yeah.
to make that happen. It does take a lot of work. I think that would be a really great resource to have, and yeah, it would just open up, adventures to even more people. I think we have, I don't know, I'm not sure we can like grow more in terms of, brand recognition, because people know about us now. Like one of my favorite moments is like when I go to a Queens of Pain ride, I'm not leading, I'm just like in the group, and people ask us like, how many rides did you come on? And
Yeah. When I would fail, people were like, is this your first ride? Yes.
So yeah, we're out there, and I think we don't have, I think being a bit more organized, because I think we can basically use what we've done so far, again, just to create extra resources for people, and I guess that's one of our sort of goals and ambitions. Yeah.
Were there any unexpected hurdles and challenges?
I don't know.
I think the only thing that I find challenging is that I would give 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to this if I could, but also I have a job and other things going on. So I think like that is the only hurdle, and I suppose that's unexpected because like I think I'm not surprised that it's been popular, but it got really popular really quickly. So it did take a lot of time, and like I'll always want to give as much as possible to it, but it's not always possible to give a lot to it. So I think that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I guess you always have this feel like you don't want to let people down,
Yeah.
and you want to sort of give stuff and like create opportunities. But I think we also have to trust them. They're doing it already, like people are creating rides and events and going out there. I don't know. My biggest barrier is still if it's like really, really shit like December night and it's like 2 degrees outside. I always have like 10 minutes where I was like, I don't want to go out, and then like go out and it's like amazing. It's like
Actually having something like this set up is helps me get out more in the winter because it's become a responsibility. Or it felt like it's felt that way.
Yeah. But I think we got it easy, to be fair.
Yeah.
People showed up.
People want to help us.
Yeah.
And it's really nice.
Yeah.
And we're really glad.
Yeah.
Right. Are there any audience questions?
Any questions from the audience for the girls?
I was simply going to ask where you guys ride from on a Wednesday, where you take off from, and how far you normally go.
Yeah, those are the basics. We should have covered that.
We should have covered that in the bit that was like, what is Queens of Pain?
I assumed everyone knows.
So we also grew that. So we originally started off at John Lewis because it was really convenient for Anna and I. And because the community is growing and people come from all over, just to make it a bit more accessible and fair for people, we have 5 start points that we rotate. Outside here at Fountain Bridge is one of them. And that is on the sign-ups every week. It will tell you where the start point is. And then what was the other part?
So let's say the points. We have John Lewis still, Fountain Bridge. We have one in Leithlings, one at the Botanics, and one in the Meadows, Bristol Square. Yeah, those are the sort of 5 we go through. And our rides, I think when I basically put out about 2,000 kilometers, maybe they're about like between 15 and 18k
The
Wednesday rides. They take
an hour and a half.
Yeah, like an hour and a half. Really, it's very chatty pace. And we stop at all the red lights.
As everyone should.
Right. There was another question? I can just shout. I'm loud. Hi. I have a hard question, just to be annoying. So I know on the in Queens we've been having a lot of chat about kind of local politics around cycling infrastructure, which is something Infosys
lot more of maybe than we do, but I was just wondering how you feel about the representation of women in safety and nighttime safety and the politics around that, and how you feel about kind of sometimes maybe being asked to speak for all women who cycle, or this idea of being like the representatives of how women cycle, right? So this kind of like maybe essentialization of the role of women in cycling.
Yeah, I guess it's a big responsibility, and we don't want to. I guess you've been part of those conversations that we've had, but just to just to make it sort of clear for everyone, I guess my personal discomfort with that is that I don't represent every woman. So I, for example, come from a background where I'm used to riding in a city in heavy traffic, skirting between like cars. So I'm always going to be very comfortable being on a road with cars because that's what I grew up. That's why basically I rode day in, day out for over a decade. So I would always be like, oh, roads are fine. But I've come to meet women that are actually scared, not scared, but they're sort of wary of traffic, and they would prefer to take the sort of quieter route. Whereas for me, the quieter route is annoying because it's longer. So I think we have to be wary of, I think we have to represent all the different viewpoints and not just, assume just because I'm a woman and, I like to ride in traffic, every other woman will like to ride in traffic, because that's not true. So I think what I would ask, especially, I guess we've had this conversation about the Roseburn path because people are claiming, oh, it's not safe at night because it's not well lit. Women feel unsafe using it at night. I was like, I'm a woman. I rode that at night, but that doesn't mean everyone or every guy is safe. So I think just canvassing a difference of opinion, not just making gender-based assumptions would be great. Yeah. But yeah, we guess we're happy to be involved in the discussions, but I think we'd always have the caveat that, if we ask to represent women, we'll probably ask, our women writers, what do you want us to say?
Yeah, we want to encourage the conversation, but we don't necessarily want to influence the conversation too much.
Yeah.
I think it's hard as well, because we've got, especially in the community that we're in, it's a breadth of confidences and abilities, and as you say, we don't represent everyone, so yeah. But it's good to have a space where people can vocalise these opinions.
Any other questions? Okay. You covered everything?
Great. Come ride with us. Yeah. Oh, no, this. Okay.
Oh, yeah, 7 o'clock. I realised I didn't say. We set off at 7 o'clock. The rides are always at 7 o'clock.
I'm just wondering when we're going to cabs.
I'll forward you on the information about that after the show.
Hi there. You've mentioned in your talk today that there's a lot of other groups on the go and that Queens of Pain is not the only group. And I'm just curious, do you organise rides at all with any other groups in terms of when it comes to representation, for example, maybe the Infra Sisters or anything like this around the city? Or do you ever link up with other Queens of Pain groups and maybe join up somehow at all?
So could you? Sort of, yes. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're supportive of, so I guess practically last year, for example, when Infra Sisters were doing the rides, we've helped marshal their rides. So yeah, we would always lend a hand wherever we can. There's no other Queens of Pain group yet, but if there will be, definitely. And we're not. I don't know. It's not like, oh, it's the Queens of Pain. It's just us. We're very welcoming to everyone. We're always when people come and ask us, like everybody said, we have a lot of riders that come and they join the community because they just moved recently to the city, and then we make them aware, there's Hervelo. They do off-road rides and road bikes. There's other cycling clubs that you can join, depending on what you want. There's School of Rocks, which are amazing at building confidence in off-road, riding. So we're always very keen and advertise as many of the other groups as possible.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of crossover. Actually, Edinburgh is getting really good for that. That there's these clubs that present more as a community than a club do overlap quite a lot with each other, which is really nice. We've got School of Rocks and Queens of Pain crossovers, and the other ones already mentioned. So yeah. It's a good place to come and find out about the kind of thing you actually want to do if that is not a Wednesday ride with Queens of Pain.
Yeah. I promise at the end I'll reveal who did the most Queens of Pain rides. Any guesses?
You.
I wish.
Anna doesn't like riding in December.
That's actually this little lady. She did over 100 rides with Queens of Pain.
Makes it worth having gone out. And
She's gonna get the first cap.
Yeah, there's only gonna be one cap.
If you do once you do 100 rides, you get a cap, and that's a promise.
It's a baseball cap.
Yeah,
It's not a cycling cap.
come ride with us.
Yeah.
Right, so thanks very much again to Anna and Ruby.
Thank
and,
you.
We'll have a break and then we'll have Naomi.